Hey everyone, Dr. Mark Supernaut here with Family Healing Chiropractic. Hope you guys are all having a great and blessed day. Today I'm going to take you through a process of something I take all my new patients through. And I just really feel like this is so absolutely crucial and important to make sure that you understand fully about how the body's um, works, that the power that made the body heals the body, that the body was designed to be able to heal, to function, to adapt, to coordinate. And this whole process here that we take our patients through is understanding your spine, understanding your nervous system, and also understanding what that means for your health. The biggest thing that we try to do with patients that come through our office is number one is help them understand that they are responsible for their own health. The moment that you tell somebody that it's genetic, that it's familial, that it's not your fault, that's the moment that nobody takes that's the moment that the person no longer takes control of their health. They think they can't do anything, so they just eat the Taco Bell. They just go do all the things, drink what they want to drink, smoke what they want to smoke, do what they want to do because they don't think there's anything they can do about it. So what I want to help you guys today to understand is that how do you take responsibility for your own health, for your own life, and how do you get your body moving and going in the right direction? So I love this aspect of it, and this is part of what brought me to chiropractic. You know, some of you guys have heard my story before, but I was really sick as a kid. I had a lot of asthma and allergies, a lot of ear infections. I remember always drinking that pink stuff out of the fridge, the whatever it was, the antibiotic, the moxicillin or whatever it was, tastes like bubble gum. It was awful. And but I remember drinking that stuff all the time. But I also remember having like severe asthma and allergies to the point that I couldn't breathe at times. And so when I was 7 years old, it got so bad that my mom had to rush me to the hospital. They gave me medications. They sent me home with one of those inhalers. I hated using it, but when I used it, it allowed me and it helped me to breathe. And I was thankful for it. I was grateful for it for a second. But the reality is that it wasn't solving the problem. It was covering up the symptoms. And it also, all medicines come with side effects. And the major side effects that it came with is gave me problems with headaches. So when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, I started developing headaches, probably partially because of the medications, but other reasons as well. And then when I was 12 years old, 13 years old, my mom took me to the doctor. He's having headaches. They said, oh, just give him Tylenol and aspirin. That's just kind of an easy thing to do. So I started taking Tylenol and aspirin. And in fact, I probably started taking more than my mom even knew. Even when I was in middle school, high school, I started having to take more and more because to play football, to put the football helmet on, it always hurts so bad to put the helmet on. And so I started taking more and more and more. And of course, you don't think about the side effects of that, but the side effects of that was it started causing stomach ulcers, started eating holes in my stomach. So at 17 years old, my mom takes me back to the doctor. I still remember sitting there trying to describe what was going on. And he's like, oh, it sounds like a stomach ulcer. Here, take this ulcer medications. I took some over-the-counter medications. I took some prescription medications. And of course, if you take those long enough, it causes another issue, another problem. And so in this case, for me, it started causing major issues with digestive issues. So fast forward to my third year of pre-med at University of Iowa, I was going to become a medical doctor or a physical therapist. I really wanted to go down that pathway because I wanted to help people. That's where my heart was. My academic advisor said to me one day, she was my actual academic advisor that I'd had for 3 years there. He went AWOL. He went to Egypt for a trip or something like that and never came back. And so they just randomly placed me with somebody, which I don't think anything's random. This lady just said, tell me a little bit of your story. And I told her about like how I grew up and why I wanted to help people. And she says, have you ever thought about chiropractic? And I'm like, well, why? Why would I do that? And she goes, listen, I know that you think chiropractors do for neck pain and back pain. That's what most people think. And she said, listen, she goes, but there's 99% of chiropractors that work with neck pain and back pain. A lot of them will help you to hide your symptoms. They'll give you supplements. They'll give you decompression tables. They'll do lasers on you. They'll do shockwave. They'll do all this stuff with you to help you with your symptoms. But she says and I don't think they had shockwave back then, but that you get the idea. But she said like 1% of chiropractors really focus in on how your body's healing from the inside out. And that story impressed me more than anything else. I'd never heard that. I'd been through 3 years of pre-med where they badmouth chiropractors because since 1960s, they've had this campaign against chiropractors, calling them quacks, calling them not real doctors, which doesn't even offend me anymore these days when somebody says you're not a real doctor, because I don't want to be a real doctor. I don't want to have to give people pills and drugs and shots and try to sell them on GLPs and all this other stuff and all these hormone replacements. I don't want to sell them on that. I want to actually teach them how to be healthy. healthy. And so she said these things to me, and I was just kind of like, well, she goes, 1% of chiropractors work with the healing power that God put inside your body. This is who you need to go see. So I went. When I went to chiropractic school, I finally went and saw a chiropractor. And as I was in chiropractic school with a student, this guy actually does an evaluation of my nerve system, my spine, finds that there's major stress in several areas of my nerve system. So he says, look, if you allow me to take the pressure off these nerves, the body will actually go through its healing process. And I'm like, okay, I'm in, I'm listening, let's go. And so he started adjusting me. Within about 2 or 3 weeks, I started noticing changes with my headaches. Within about 3 or 4 months, though, I noticed asthma, allergies, headaches, stomach ulcers, everything had completely gone away to the point that I was taking 0 medications anymore. And so the question is not like, isn't whether the body can heal. It can, but you got to ask the question of what was interfering with it. For me, it was my spine and nerve system. That was the problem that was disrupting my body's own ability to be able to heal itself. And of course, if I'd have kept going to more and more real doctors, like these people on TikTok and everybody else say, medical doctors, then if I'd have went to real doctors, we would have, so insurance might have covered it, probably, because insurances cover that. And they would have given me more medications, because that's what medical industrial complex does. Is medical industrial complex wants to keep you in the system, keep you sick, and keep you on this pathway, because that's what makes billions and billions and trillions of dollars. It drives this whole system. So, and it takes away your responsibility for your own health. So it's a lot harder to take care of yourself. So in order to understand how to take care of your health, you've got to know understand what health is and what health is not. And so a lot of people, when I ask the questions, how do you know if you're healthy? People will base it on, well, I know I'm healthy because I feel good. Or they'll say, I know I'm healthy because I look good when I look in the mirror. I don't have any symptoms. I don't have any problems. I exercise, I eat right. The problem with that is that that's not a great definition of health, is just looking right, feeling good, and not having any symptoms. Because out of 100 people that are developing heart disease, do you guys know how 90 of them find out that they have heart disease? 90 of them find out that they have heart disease because they have a heart attack. And at that first heart attack, 2 out of 3, or one out of 3 of them die at the first heart attack. So what happens is that we can, same thing with cancer. 100 people that are developing cancer. Usually, do they find out when it's really early or when it's really, really late in that process? It's usually when it's really late in that process is how they find out that their body is not working properly. So I had this example of this a few years back. I had a couple patients come in around the same time. And this young lady, she goes, she's like 19 years old. She goes, my great grandpa's that guy that you talk about all the time. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, he's the guy that smoked, drank, did everything wrong, and he was still living at 95 years old. And everybody would have guessed, according to this model, the medical model, that he should have died way earlier. But the reality is that he didn't. He actually survived a very long time because his body was able to heal, adapt, coordinate, and function at its highest level to deal with all these stressors coming in, all this stress and all this damage that he was bringing into his body and doing seemingly everything wrong. Another girl comes in right around the same time. She was 37 years old. If you looked at her from the outside, she looked healthy. She felt healthy. She was wearing workout clothes. You'd be like, this girl's super active. She's healthy. She's beautiful. She's all these things. And then you start to understand and you start to read her chart, and you're like floored by this. She had 2 forms of cancer. It was lung cancer that metastasized and spread to her breast. So she had been through many, many treatments for a long time. And she came to us because she's like, I want to make sure that my body is functioning at the highest level. And I said to her, talk to me about how the cancer came about and what you understand. And she goes, listen, my oncologist said it's because I was a smoker in college. And I said, well, how long did you smoke for? And she's like, I didn't smoke for very long. I smoked for like a year. And so what the oncologist explained to her, though, is that when she was taking that cigarette smoke in that short amount of time into her lungs, guess what her lungs were unable to do with the chemicals and all the toxicities that came with it? Her lungs weren't able to process it. It wasn't able to adapt to it. It wasn't able to coordinate the systems that it needed to heal those things before it turned into cancer and metastasized to her breast. Her body wasn't able to actually be healthy on the inside because it wasn't able to heal, adapt, coordinate. It wasn't able to do the things that it was supposed to do and how it was supposed to be able to do it. So how do you create this function in your body? So I love this chart. 0% is where you're dead, and 100%. I always like to talk about how 0% is where you die, 100% is where you're thriving and living at the best levels. When your body is functioning at 100%, your body is not just healthy and free of symptoms, but you have more energy, better sleep, better focus, better hormones, better immune system. Everything's functioning better when you're at 100%. And the reality is that this is what we should be striving for. Everybody's either moving towards sickness and death or moving towards healing and thriving. And so the reality is that on that scale there, once you lose enough function, and it happens slowly. So when you're at 100% and you start to go downhill and you start to go to 90% and 80% and then 70%, 60%, it's not until you hit 60% function that finally symptoms will finally show up. So somebody says to me the other day, I don't know what I did. I just bent over and picked up a piece of paper or a pencil and my back went out, and it's like, that didn't just happen. The headaches didn't just start last week. They've been coming on gradually over the course of a long period of time. That neck pain, that back pain, it's been coming upon you gradually, but you just had no clue what to do with symptoms because the medical industrial complex has just taught you to just keep covering up symptoms, basically is what it's done. And so take the pill, take the drug, do those things. But what that does is it doesn't move you towards thriving. It moves you more towards sickness and disease. So what are the things that move you towards thriving? Obviously, proper mindset, prayer, meditation, having a faith that your body was designed to heal itself, putting good foods in it, exercising, but also most importantly is that the nerve system, the brain and spinal cord are what control the functions inside your body and allow your body to heal and to adapt and to coordinate all the systems and the processes that God designed you with. So there's 3 types of stress that causes this nerve system. So the brain and spinal cord is what controls every function in your body. So your brain sends messages down through your spinal cord, and we call it in chiropractic, we call this innate intelligence. You have this inborn intelligence. In fact, all living creatures, all living organisms on this planet have this inborn ability to be able to adapt to its environment and has the will to want to survive. Think about that weed in your driveway. That weed, you pull it out and it keeps coming back. Why? Because it wants to survive. It's going to do the best it can to survive. If you have a plant and you take that plant and you turn it away from the sunlight, what is it going to do? It's going to turn its leaves back towards the sunlight. Why? Because it's trying to survive. If you don't water that plant, what is the plant going to do? It's going to dig its roots deeper and deeper and deeper. Why? Because it's trying to survive. Just like your body, but your body's way more complex. And that inborn innate intelligence is in all of our cells, but most importantly, it's coordinated and adapting through the brain and spinal column, because the brain is what controls all the organs, cells, and tissue in your body. How do we know this? Well, if I take your spinal cord and I cut it here, what happens? You die. This is where that power, this is where that energy is. This is where the life is. And so that brain and spinal cord sends messages down through the spinal cord, out the nerves to all your organs, cells, and tissues. When that spine's out of alignment, then it can't adapt to its problems and it can't heal, can't go through its process. So there's 3 types of stresses that we talk about in chiropractic. So somebody says, well, how does your spine go out of alignment? Or there's 3 types of stressors: physical, chemical, and emotional. Physical, everybody understands: slips and falls, car accidents, sports injuries, you can just name it. Right? You sit for long periods of time, stand for long periods of time. I have people that come in and say, man, I have these migraine headaches because I look at computers all day long. And I'm like, okay, that's funny, but how many people look at computers all day long? They're like, well, everybody. And I'm like, does everybody have migraine headaches? And they're like, no. And I'm like, so there's something within your system, within your body, that's not allowing you to go down this pathway. Chemical stress. This is food and drugs and toxins that are the very things that they're trying to give you to heal. The GLPs, the peptides, all these drugs and the chemicals, and even supplements are chemicals that are not exposed, that not necessarily supposed to be in your body. When you put something in your body and you're trying to fool the structure and you're trying to fool the chemistry of your body, anytime you do that, that is stress to your body. Can it give you desired outcome? For sure. Can you take a pain pill and not have as much pain? Sure. Can you take a blood pressure lowering medication and lower it? Yes. Can you take a peptide and get results? Can you get tanner skin? Can you get more hair growing? Can you do these things? 100%. But that's not without taking and putting stress within your nerve system that affects you. So then there's also emotional stress. This is anxiety, stress. If you had parents growing up that yelled at you constantly, if you have a stressful job, you're in stressful relationship, these are all things. See, the thing is that these stresses don't just eat up your body. What happens is when your body's overwhelmed with these stresses and it can't adapt to it anymore, that's when it starts to create issues or creates problems with the body. Like I said, what controls everything? The brain. The brain sends messages through the spinal cord to the nerves, to every cell, tissue, and organ. And here's the kicker: every cell, tissue, and organ in your body sends messages back up to your brain to tell your brain how it works or how it's working or what it needs to do to heal and go through its process. The brain and spinal cord control everything. So for you to hear me right now, for you to see me, for your heart to beat, for your lungs to breathe, even for like a cut to heal on your leg, your brain has to send messages down through that spinal cord, through all the organs, cells, and tissues so your body can actually do what it's designed to do. If I take all the nerves that go to your heart and cut it, the heart dies. If I take all the nerves to your right arm, the right arm dies if I cut it. If I take all the nerves to your right leg, the right leg dies. We don't see cut nerves. What we see are stressed, choked, pinched, or damaged nerves. When you damage nerves, then because of the stress, because of the lack of ability to adapt to the stresses that are coming in, then what happens is this subluxation process sets in. My best way, and I've said this before, so you can go back and look this up, but it's kind of like my daughters. I have 4 daughters. If they all put their hair dryers, curling irons, and straightening irons all in the same outlet, it's going to override the system, and that's going to trigger a breaker to break, and the electricity is going to shut off for a little bit. Is it desired? No, but it is necessary, because otherwise the whole house is going to burn down if we allow them to keep putting that overwhelming stress in one area that the house can no longer adapt to. So, in the house is an inanimate object. I can't speak today. But what happens is the body is an adapting and coordinating system. So the subluxation process, those traumas, thoughts, and toxins that I talked about, that puts stress on your body. And when that body can no longer adapt to it, it creates this spinal dysfunction, or what we call subluxation in chiropractic. This creates nerve interference, so it disrupts the communication, and now you start to decrease the function of your body. So instead of being 100% function, you start to lose the function and starts to go downhill. That's a disruption of the body. And then now, after a long enough period of time, remember, it doesn't happen right away. It happens later in the process that symptoms show up: headaches, neck pain, back pain, digestive problems, hormone issues, imbalances. These happen later. And so this is why we see in this office a lot of patients that bring their whole families here. This is their preventative measure. This is at the top of their list before even working out and eating right, that the nerve system has to be working and communicating and adapting and coordinating. That's the biggest piece of this. That interference to that nerve system creates loss of function. And we want to try to avoid that at all costs. Now, do we see a lot of people once they have symptoms? Yeah, because if they have symptoms and problems, we want their body working at the highest level, not just taking a drug to cover up the symptom. We want to actually get it working at the highest level. So symptoms, like I said, show up late in that process. And so how we do it is we do an evaluation of the spine and the nerve system in our office. And I'll probably touch on this more later on down the road, but I want to just kind of give you guys a little bit of hints of how you know if you have damage in the nerve system. So from a structural standpoint, when you look at the spine straight on, it's supposed to be perfectly straight up and down. From the side, as you can see on this, it's supposed to be curved like a banana. That normal is 40 to 45 degrees. You want to see, I know it says 31 degrees there, but you would like that to be 40 to 45 degrees. And that atlas, that top bone, actually angled at about 31 degrees is what you'd like to see. An abnormal spine, which is anywhere that's less than 40 degrees, that doesn't make, just because that person's at 0 degrees or they're at 20 degrees or 25 degrees, that is not in itself the problem. It's just telling you that the environment that the spine's been in has not been able to adapt to stress. And it goes through this degenerative process where you start to lose the structure or the function of the spine. So when you start to have stress in the nerve system and the spine subluxate or goes out of alignment and puts pressure on the nerve system, you have a lot of different things that can show up. You have, on x-ray, you can see it from a degeneration, osteoporosis. You can see it from a decaying standpoint, bone spurs. You can see it from that standpoint. You can also know it by symptoms, but remember, symptoms show up late. You can also see it by lack of range of motion. You can also measure temperature differences from the side of the spines. And for over 100 years, chiropractors have measured the temperature of both sides of the spine to see where the areas of deflection are, where there is actual stress to the area. Cutaneously on the skin, you can notice changes in the skin, color, temperature. There's so many different ways that you can know or look to see is there disruption or dysfunction within the nerve system that's telling us that there's problems with the nerve system. One of my favorite ways is we check range of motion, we check posture, we check balance, and I actually feel the spine to see if there's proper motion in there. And then x-rays are another way that we see it. All these things help me understand a little bit deeper, what are we really dealing with? So in our office, we do, it's called corrective chiropractic care. So we it's not like putting braces on teeth though. We don't just straighten teeth with one tightening. You actually do it over time with an adjustment. What's fascinating is I've seen people with one adjustment, migraine headaches completely melt away. I've seen people with one adjustment that their sciatic nerve problems go away. I've seen people with one adjustment that their thyroid problems go away. I've seen people with one adjustment that their energy comes back, their sleep comes back, and their TMJ problems. I've seen it all. But I've also seen people where it's taken many, 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 many adjustments to be able to help them with those aspects of it. See, the reality is that I don't heal you. When you come into our office, if I turn this computer around, you'd see our tables here and where we do stretch and exercise and everything like that. I don't heal you. I have one job. It's to help your body function better. That's it. And so when we start adjusting somebody, we just, in order to start to get the spine and the nerve system going in the right direction, though, there has to be some type of time, consistency, and a right plan to keep you moving in the right direction so the body can actually go through its healing process. And so, very similar to what braces do, they straighten their teeth and then they want to make sure they maintain with a retainer. Obviously, I would much rather teach people from the beginning of life with kids and babies. Let's teach you from the beginning. How do we make sure your nerve system's working proper from the beginning? And if we do that, you're going to have a better fighting chance at functioning better for a longer period of time. A lot of people come in here with so much damage for so long that now we have to retrain. And so if you were going to go to the gym and start going today, if you went once this week on a Tuesday and the next week you went once on a Wednesday and then the following week you went once on a Monday, there's no pattern to that. There's no changing. There's no getting but you're getting your body to start to get used to it. So you have to go a little bit more frequently at the beginning and you have to be consistent. And the body loves consistency. Just like going to bed and waking up at the same time, your body does way better than that, better with that. Same thing with eating, same thing with everything really with your body. It likes patterns and functions. And that's why with our adjusting techniques, we really like to help you understand how to do home stretches, exercises, take care of the hygiene of your spine and take care of your body, which includes working out and eating, right? These are definitely pieces of it. Making sure that you have positive thoughts and understand that you have faith that your body can heal itself. You know, a lot of people say, oh, chiropractic's a placebo. Man, I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, we're still having this conversation. Like, a better functioning nerve system is something we need to really have a conversation about. But I'm going to tell you, my patients that come in and say, I have faith that my body can heal itself, they get better faster. Okay. Same thing even if you're taking a poison drug, even if you're taking chemotherapy, even if you're taking drug, there is something that is powerful about your mind that if you believe it's going to work a heck of a lot more times than it's not. And so same thing, if you believe that that's not going to work, then it's not going to work. It's like that's the mentality behind all of this in anything, in any world, when it comes to anything that you have. So just understanding that having faith and understanding how the body works is such a big piece of this. So really what your step is, if you're out there, if you have questions, you feel free to DM me. But your next step is understand God designed your body to heal, regulate, and adapt and coordinate. Our job in this office, like I said before, our job is to remove the interference so your body can function. One of my favorite things to say these days is that I can't add healing to your body. God put all the healing in your body that's possibly ever going to be there for the rest of your life. It's there and it's created there. I can't add to it, but what I can do, nobody can add to it. Medical doctors can't add to it. Neurosurgeons can't add to it. Chiropractors can't add to it. But you can do things that will take away from that healing. So the healing that's there, if you feed it bad foods, it's not going to heal the way that it's designed to. If you don't exercise, it's not going to heal the way that it's supposed to. If you don't have proper positive thoughts and prayer and meditation and have faith, it's going to affect the healing. And most importantly, obviously, faith is obviously most important. I'm not beside that. But what happens is that if your nerve system is cut off from the body, or at least being diminished or blocked in some way, shape, or form, your body can't communicate that healing process that it needs to from the inside out as much as it should and could. So hope this makes sense to you guys. If not, ask questions below. Love to hear your questions. If you want to connect with us, we've got our website down there. We've got our phone number there. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Have a great day.